start off with the consent calendar. And I think Gary's going to do the consent calendar. No, Tom's going to do the consent.
Thank you.
I forget who's doing what.
This is my major role today.
Yeah, I can't leave you out.
Thank you. So last month we started this, it's known as the consent calendar. It's to collapse a number of relatively simple motions into one, so we don't have to go through who moves and seconds, etc. So the 4 items within the consent calendar for today are the approval of the open session version of the board meeting on March 25, the duty to inspect, which occurred yesterday, the Appreciation Fund Committee charter, and as a newbie on that committee, serving as liaison, I noted that your contributions to staff, which that's just the way it was written, but it's only to the eligible staff. Management does not receive your contributions, only the staff that are eligible. And the Finance Committee revision is a small one, but items that are $15,000 or more now will go into the reserve, and other amounts less than 15 will go into the operating expenses. So with those 4 agenda items, I move that calendar items be approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Now we have the treasurer's report. For what?
Significant.
No, we skipped that. Okay, now we have the treasurer's report here.
So I have to remember to keep my hands off the computer. Otherwise, bad things will happen. So we're going to continue the same format we have in recent months. We're going to start with the reconstruction report. So this is from the beginning to the end here. We, as you know, have a total of $4,200,000 in emergency assessments. And you can see we got some interest income on that, $32,000. We had those original emergency services, very expensive, 800 and some thousand. And since then, we've spent about $1 million on the construction contractors, and then the oversight by the architectural services. And we've reimbursed some homeowners for their expenses, and we've had some legal fees. I don't know what the other is. I didn't get any of it. So a total of $2,120,000 spent as of the end of March. That may not seem like much of a change from last month, and it really isn't much of a change. However, there are some big payments in the works for April. However, given that, we are still been told and are reasonably comfortable that the amount that we have assessed will be sufficient to complete the project. I'll return to cash flow. So looking at the 3-month period, starting on January 1st, we had $93,000 in our operating account, cash account. We had $2.4 million in the reserve account. That's the total in reserves, including investments. And the reconstruction, you just saw, was $2,440,000. Cash flow for the 3 months, we had a positive 33,000. Reserves had a positive 220,000, which is mainly from operations, from your assessment. And then the reconstruction, we paid 320,000 in reconstruction expenses. So that leaves us on March 31st with 126,000 in the operating account, 2,600,000 in the reserves, and 2,120,000 in the reconstruction. And let me just say that on the operating account, there's a note there on the bottom that says statement balance 278,000. So that's what the bank statement said, and we subtract from that checks outstanding. So that's how it got down to the 126. And I also want to mention that we had about $250,000 reduction in accounts payable between December 31st and March 31st. So even though the cash account still looks low, we have 250,000 less payables. So that's the good news. Turning to revenue and expense. So for the month of March, budget, we'll have budget for revenue, unless the reserve amounts, which we send every month to the reserve account. So it leaves a net revenue of 766,000, which is pretty much on budget. And then we have maintenance and resident services, housekeeping, and administration. And excuse me just a minute, I got some notes that I took. So the maintenance shows 25,000 under budget, right here. And that is about the same amount of money that we didn't spend in the category which we call unscheduled capital expenditures. And I'll just remind you that what we've been doing over the last 3 years is scheduling an amount, I don't want to call it a contingency, but an estimated amount for things that we have to do during the year to replace things or get repairs made on capital. And we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but we know we're going to have something. So that amount has grown to 150,000 in the budget now, and that's allocated over the course of the year. So in January and February, we had significant items in that account. In March, we didn't. So in March, there was 24,000 in the budget for these unanticipated expenses, and that wasn't spent, so that's why we're showing a $25,000 under budget for maintenance. Resident services, pretty much on budget. Housekeeping, as usual, under budget, but very, very close to budget. You see here, less than $1,000 from budget. And the last item is administration, 24,000 over budget. And there are various pluses and minuses, but the one thing that stands out is that we had a $24,000 over budget insurance expenditure. When we finally got the amount for insurance, which is after we prepare the budget, we are having an overage for the year, and for the month it was 24,000. I do want to mention that we are in the process of reevaluating our earthquake insurance. And if that turns out to be something that we're going to reduce or eliminate, then that will go into effect starting July 1st. So, or is it June 1st? Is it June or July when that would go into July 1st? So for the full year, we may end up under budget for insurance, but as of the month of March, we're over budget. Dining pretty much speaks for itself. If you look down here at the bottom, $898 over budget, under budget. That's essentially budget. You're looking at a $360,000 budget for the month of March, and to be under $1,000 difference, that's very good budgeting, and to be commended for that. Next, this is for the month of March again. Operations in total was 22,000 versus 22,000 budget. Dining services, virtually on budget. The total, $1,144 off of budget. You can't get much better than that when you turn in your budgeting. So there's not anything that stands out for the month as being an unusual situation. And all I can report is that we did very well with regard to meeting our expenditures according to our budget. So that's the financial treasury report. Are there any questions about that?
Let's hear it for the finance committee and staff. Hey!
Okay, thank you, Gary. And now we have the reserve, we have 3 reserve items. And you're gonna take those, Scott?
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Usually in the executive session is where the board assigns who's doing what action items. And I had to step out a little early. So when I came back this afternoon, they said you're doing all the reserve action items. It's kind of like how our secretaries are elected at the committees. But we do have a handful of reserve action items today. First is coming out of the dining services kitchen area. In our dining services portion of the reserve study, there's a $47,000 allowance that's scheduled to replace a collection of gas ranges and a griddle. This was last replaced in early 2000. It had a 25-year useful life, so that $47,000 was not scheduled to be expensed until 2029. As is the case with reserves, this is an estimate, and our tough as nails equipment from 2004 has served us very well over the years, but unfortunately we've reached the end of life. Danielle Uwaldi has reached out to 2 different vendors for a variety of quotes to replace the collection of this equipment. Trimark is the vendor that we've used well over the years. They have a total cost of $42,000. That includes all of the equipment, installation, and tax. With our long history of Trimark, we're supportive of this, and the competitive quote was actually higher than the alternative. Our 2026 reserve study will update to include this $42,000 price, but will also reduce the useful life on this equipment to more of a 15 to maybe 20-year useful life. 25 is just not realistic in this modern day of equipment. The Finance Committee has reviewed this proposal and supports it as an appropriate reserve expense, and I will turn it to the board for any questions or potential action.
Second.
Go get a second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that kitchen item? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
Thank you. I know Danielle will be happy about that. One of the items is actually out of commission, so good to get that replaced. This may sound scary, but I promise you it is not. This is a reserve action item regarding a change order to our thermostat controls. When everybody saw this coming down the pike, they tightened up a little bit. The good news is that ASSC is putting together their final paperwork to close out the second phase of our thermostat project. This has been a significant improvement process than the prior vendor that we all experienced in phase one that was essentially told to leave the job. ASSC is conducting a user training for our management team today and tomorrow, and that's going to allow our staff to remotely control the HVAC system in our clubhouse. We are expecting the spring and summer months to be much more manageable. We can't guarantee every day to be a slam dunk. Just like we always strive to make the pool 84 degrees, we may be at 83 or 85 once in a while. We're going to really work hard on dialing in the system, but the brains and the body have now been installed, and we're really excited about that. While ASSC was doing the work, they came across some challenges along the way. Some they actually just did, knowing that it was outside of the scope of work, and said, we're already doing this, let's just do it, and it's immaterial enough of the scope of the project that hopefully Smith Ranch Homes will pay us later. There's another item that came along the way though that said, yikes, we're not gonna do this work, but we found 2 exposed electrical wires that nobody really knows where this goes and what has been the history of this. So they provided 2 change orders. Change order 4 is to address this life safety issue with these safety wires that were found for $14,000. Change order 3 is for $22,000. This is a variety of work that they came across and said, we should probably do some of this, maybe some of this can be done a little bit later. They processed 44 hours worth of work to the tune of $7,810. They also addressed another 80 hours, totaling $14,000 that we could do later. There's another change order for $15,000 that's related to our conference room HVAC that they said that's a low priority, don't lose track of it, but you don't need to do it today. The Finance Committee looked at this proposal last week, and they support change order 4 for $14,000. They support change order 3 for the amount of work that's already been processed for $7,800. Then they forward the remaining balance of that priority and then the conference room one to the Maintenance Committee for their evaluation to see what we should do in terms of timing on those items. So that's a mouthful, but thankfully we're across the finish line for our thermostat project. Our change orders are significant, but not enough to say, yikes, we didn't know what we were doing. I think some of this was to be expected, but I'm going to tender this action item back to the board for a total cost of $29,717 to address the high and the medium priority change orders ASSC presented to us. I'll turn the question to the board for any follow-up or action.
Do I hear a motion to the effect that we're combining these change orders?
Approval.
I have a question before we make the motion, maybe.
Why don't we have the motion and then some discussion?
Well,
I'll make the motion that we
Been moved.
approve
I'll
$29,000
second.
for the change orders.
Okay, discussion now. Dean?
well, then the 29,000 would include high, medium, and low change orders, correct?
Thank you, Dee. That was a clarification. Let me readdress this one. The total of the priority change orders we're doing today is $21,880.
Right.
The remaining balance, thank you, is $29,000. That's what's been tendered to the maintenance department for further review. So the motion should be corrected to
Yeah.
$21,880.
So it's the 14,070 for change order 4 and 7,810 for change order 3.
Correct.
For a total of 21,880.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll probably need another motion.
I just made it.
You did make that?
Yes, I'll just make that motion.
Then
We need a second.
I'll second that one.
Okay, moved and seconded that we have a motion on the change orders for $21,980. Any discussion? Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, this looks easy, but I can tell you with change order numbers and dollar amounts and hours worked, it's really easy to flip a 6 into a 2 and everything else. So thank you for your patience there. The last reserve action item is an exciting one. This is for the renovation of the guest rooms. In our reserve study for 2025, there's $70,000 scheduled to improve guest room C to be a wheelchair-friendly environment in the bathroom. We also have some money scheduled in reserves for 2026 for $50,000 to make some accessibility-friendly improvements to guest rooms A and B. Overall, we're not looking to achieve ADA status, but we do note that when residents and or guests come in there, the rooms are really not well received in terms of accessibility issues. Management has worked with a group of residents, primarily Dr. Jill Leverton from the Maintenance Committee and Marianne Pilevsky from the Condo Renovation Committee to start this improvement. I also really want to thank Jack Holm and Russ Wilbert, who were early adopters into this project, and Jack even met with our candidate that we're going to talk about today, so thank you to both of you. Our current architect's workload has pushed us to find another firm, and we sourced another architect firm, Daniel McDonald Architects in Novato, to meet with one of their lead architects, Tony Garza. We've attached his bio, and we didn't know Tony until we met him, but we were really impressed with his resume, as that he actually served from 2014 to 2016 as the Accessibility Advisory Commissioner for the City of Corte Madera. So he has a lot of accessibility experience and the lenses of what we're looking for. He met with us and did a walkthrough and recognized what we're trying to achieve here. And we recognize that it would better serve having a project manager for a project of this scope to develop the specification plans, and then later on if we need to do some bidding and project management. But Tony provided a quote for $7,100 to provide the specification scope of work. And this would be a great first step to approve this work as a reserve expense, because it's related to the reserves. And then that'll empower Dr. Jill and Marianne and myself and Kevin Bauer to work with the architect to get this project up and running. I'll turn it to the board for any questions, or hopefully we can move forward with this.
So what's the sum total?
$7,100 for the architectural fee.
Okay.
What about the other, the 40 and the 20?
We're not there yet. This is just the first step for him to come in and do the design phase. And he is going to be addressing guest room C and A and B in one swoop so that we can take care of both years' scheduled work. But a lot of people have a lot of different ideas, but we need an architect to come in and really develop the design plans for a contractor to come in and bid against it.
So this motion would be just to accept Tony and McDonald Architects for a fee of $7,100. Do I hear one?
I'll move. I'll move that.
Your motion, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion second. Any further discussion on the $7,100?
Scott, this is a reserve expenditure to make these changes, so would the architect fee be a reserve item also?
Yeah, that's why we're classifying this as a reserve expense.
Okay.
And this money is in the budget?
It's in the reserved amounts that we scheduled.
Okay.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Now we have a management report. Scott, this is your day, babe.
Boy. Okay, this is fun, everybody. But I will say that guest room one was good. I'm glad we are moving forward on that. Okay, I'm gonna breeze through Gary's treasurer's report one more time. This is always good news, better than budget by $1,000. But I saw this picture and thought, boy, this is a nice way to sum Smith Ranch Homes as we entered into the spring, allergy season, and everything else that we're confronted with in the spring of Smith Ranch Homes. But I wanted to recognize a goodbye to somebody who works with Smith Ranch Homes. Special guest who's sitting in the back, who stuck around after her time to leave today. You mind coming on up to the front? All right, Lindsay. We all know Lindsay Chow from the valet office. Sorry, Lindsay. somebody has to suffer this every board meeting. So I'm gonna ask you to come on up, maybe in front of where I sit. Just cruise over there if you don't mind. Okay, so we mentioned this over the years. There's a lot of people that work at Smith Ranch Homes that may, no, come on, a little further up here, Lindsay. All right, Monica's got to move the camera around to capture you here. Come on, a little bit more. There you go. Okay, so Lindsay does not work for Smith Ranch Homes. She works with Smith Ranch Homes, but you are a proud employee of Allied Universal Security Services, but you've been a part of our valet team for quite a while. Lindsay, when did you start working here? Do you remember?
February 2022.
Good job. There we go. All right. So Lindsay came to the site February 2022. That feels like 22 years ago, but I mean that in a good way. But then immediately was promoted to valet supervisor December of 2022. And I think that really reflects the great efforts and service that you provided us, Lindsay, is that you were recognized to be a leader amongst your team. Did you know this? Maybe you did when you saw Lindsay on Halloween dressed as a lovable baby. Lindsay loves to design costumes, particularly Halloween, and I think that was the nugget of info I was able to pull out of Lindsay when I said, tell me something special about you. And she may or may not have passed or won a spelling bee in 5th grade. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
I don't remember.
But at the end of this month, Lindsay will be joining us. When's your last day? Is it the last day of April? Or
30th, next Wednesday.
next Wednesday? Okay, so today's not a goodbye, but next Wednesday is. So please come and say goodbye to Lindsay. Thank you for all the service you have been doing for us. You are moving to Georgia. Atlanta? Or just?
Atlanta.
Okay, so something about Atlanta. Let's talk about how everybody's leaving California. And I'm gonna ask you, Lindsay, are you sure? So today in Atlanta, it's 73 degrees. That's nice, okay? But it's 66 degrees in San Rafael. It's cloudy. It's sunny here though. It's cloudy in Atlanta. 70% humidity, even in April, it's starting to climb up there, and it's a 10% humidity. Some may say that's too dry. That's okay. The 10-day forecast is that it's thunderstorms for the next 10 days. 10-day forecast at Smith Ranch, mostly sunny. So I'll let you chew on this, Lindsay, about what you really want to decide to do next Wednesday. But all in all, we really want to wish you luck, and thank you for everything you've done, and I hope everyone can give Lindsay a round of applause. Lindsay, do you want to say anything to the group? Here's your chance.
I'm a little nervous, no, but I thank you guys so much. And this is not a job for me here. This is like having a lot of grandparents that I love you guys, so. But I will miss you guys so much, and I will definitely come back to visit you guys.
Good job, Lindsay. Okay, hard act to follow. But last town hall meeting, I talked about fire drills. And we are entering fire season, and I wanted to let you know we have a documented, written down fire schedule for 2025 for the condo buildings. The 4th Thursday of the month at 10 a.m. If there's a time of the month where you want to go to Scotty's and do your grocery shopping, if there's a time to plan a vacation, might be the time. But if you're not and you're here, we're going to communicate the expectations of a fire drill, where to go, and that it's not a drill to the point where you don't do anything. It is a drill, but you still need to mobilize. So if you're at home or if you're in the audience, note your building. May 22nd, building 100. That didn't turn out too well for the other column, but let's just go with the flow. June 26th, building 200. And July 24th for building 300. I think you all had fire drills last year. Raise your hand if you were in 1, 2, or 3 and there was a fire drill. Okay, we're redoing it, but we're starting at the top. Raise your hand if you live in building 400, 500, 600 in the villas and you had a fire drill last year. No. Oh. You may have. There may have been a fire alarm. I just don't know if there was an actual test or a drill, but we want to make sure every building or villa cluster, and what do a villa owner do during a fire drill versus a condo building occupant? We'll talk to you. We'll tell you what to do. But we want every sector to be covered. The fourth Thursday of November is Valentine's Day. Thanksgiving, so we're bumping that up, but we're gonna have one in the clubhouse as well. True or false? If you're a resident in the clubhouse on November 20th at 10 a.m. and the fire alarm rings, you don't participate in the fire drill. True or false? False. Okay, I'm recording you in the pocket of my shirt, and I'm going to replay that on November 21st and tell you what you thought. So anyways, really important though, all jokes aside, we have gotten a little sideways on our drilling. We want to rebolster this annually, have a fire drill for every building, and then talk about what do we do during an earthquake. That's it in terms of the slideshows. I do want to talk about other management efforts around here. Danielle Uwaldi in the Dining Services Department is welcoming a new Dining Services reservationist. Raise your hand if you spoke to Blanca on the phone. We are very excited to have Blanca. She's a great addition to the team, and she's learning a lot, as our other reservationists have, but we hope that she's going to be with us for a long time. I walked through the grill room yesterday. I saw Danielle and team setting up the patio, and you couldn't have asked for a better day to have the first grill room patio day of the season. So that is now open, but we do encourage you to please make a reservation. I walked through again today, and that patio was packed. So just to be able to balance the times and the needs and the wants, please make your reservations. And the reservation desk is now open for Mother's Day brunch. If it's any indication, like we saw on Easter, we're hoping for a part 2. Danielle told me Easter was rocking. The energy was big, and we know Mother's Day is usually equally big. Poor Father's Day, sometimes it's just a little chair swiveling around and not much going on for us fathers. But Mother's Day, the dining room will be open from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. In the maintenance department, Kevin has mentioned that he has gone to the Building 200 lobby and has done a temperature test of all the lights. And as I read here today, the lighting temperatures should be much improved from the last board meeting. Can I get an indication from the Building 200 residents, how are your light colors in your building? Does anybody live in Building 200? I'll take that as everything's great, or if not, please contact me day or night if the lights are not looking well in Building 200. Reminder from Kevin, he calls it your wipes, our pipes. I think there's a variation of kind of the PSA that we're doing right now, but we are imploring everybody to please be considerate. I walked by again the box at Costco that said disposable wipes, and I just get angrier and angrier when I see that, because nothing is disposable. One of my staff members here mentioned, well, I flush those wipes at home. I don't own the house, so I don't know. The landlord doesn't know I'm doing it. And I said, Izzy, please. You need to flush the solution. Sorry, Izzy. It's like Cliff Schulroy. There has to be one little zinger at every meeting. But really, we've noticed a lot of residents really taking to heart about this. We're really addressing this with the caregivers as well. But sewer backups, clogs are inherently happening more and more, and we gotta be able to address it at the root level. Monica, what's going on with you in your department? Big news, April 29th. Current COVID vaccine with Golden Gate Pharmacy coming in. Your boarding passes will be in your mailroom cubby on Friday, April 25th. So please contact her or the wellness office if you have any questions about that. And I was very proud to see the improv open house that was conducted the other day. I think it was last week or the week before that. Maybe it's inspired you to put on your improv hat. I sat in on one of the sessions and it was really engaging and fun. They're starting a new 4-week beginner series on Friday, May 9th in the multi-purpose room. Please check it out. And now there's even an intermediate class that's going to be changing to 1 to 3 p.m. And improv takes place every Friday, except for the first Friday of the month. That's going to be hard to always remember, but we will communicate that as best as we can. Some of the highlights that I will say as we head into May, we are having a Civil War presentation in the community room on May 20th. Monica, do we want to dress up for that? Do we want to wear our best Civil War reenactment outfits? No? Oh. No? Okay. Maybe you'll say that, but maybe you'll bring your best cannabis to the wellness talk with the Marin Gardens Cannabis Delivery Conversation. They'll be here on May 22nd to talk about the values there. And then Canine Companions will be doing a presentation on May 29th. Lila in the housekeeping office, what are you doing, Lila? You are doing a lot of good things. We just mentioned the budget. What is nice though is that ChemDry came through and cleaned with an extraction method of the second floor and dining room of the clubhouse. So we're trying to maintain these carpets as best we can so we get the life that we need out of those. Finally, I just want to welcome some new residents, Marshall and Shelby Gross in 695, moved in on March 13th, and Arlene O'Connor, welcome to building 602H, moved in mid-April, April 11th. That concludes my report. Glenn, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you. Very good report. So let's move on, and we have Dean's going to take us through the pergola. We're with the enhancement fund is going to be pushing their program here on the pergola, and Dean's been involved.
Yes, the enhancement fund has proposed really several pergolas, but they've raised the funds to proceed with one that would be right out here on the, what we're going to call, I think, the community patio. And this has gone through the resident comment period. It's been approved by the architectural committee. And I think we're ready to move. Oh, I should make a comment about the color of the pergola. In the resident comment period, the comment was made that the pergola was too dark. It looked black in the photographs. In truth, it is a beechwood color, which is very similar to the color of our buildings. So that was noted, but maybe not seen by everybody. But I wanted to explain that. They've also looked at furniture that would go under the pergola. But I think we'll take those motions separately. So I will move that the board approve the using the enhancement fund to purchase one pergola for the community patio, and it is 24 feet by 14 feet, and the cost is $30,075.
So moved.
Have a motion?
You said,
I'll second.
Seconded, Karen?
yes, yeah.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Tom?
Yes. I had some concerns and did respond to the owners, residents' information slips. And so Charlene and I had a conversation yesterday, and I told her that I would have preferred personally to have started at the pool level. But anyway, she convinced me that the architectural committee had very fine reasons to start here. My second concern was the viewing of the gardens, which the landscape committee had raised physically by putting more dirt in 2 years ago. And I didn't want it blocked, and I was told that the chairs of the last year's committee and this year's committee had reviewed it and accepted that this would not impact the viewing. But while we were here this afternoon, it was interesting. I was watching a caregiver and his patient, and he picked a flower up, a daisy for her, and put it in her lapel. That's how important the garden is. So that's a prelude to my discussion point. And that is, while I was viewing it more carefully yesterday, I realized the impact physically of a 24-foot by 14-foot roof supported by 4 columns. Not that it would block the viewing, but we, as an association, as far as I know, have not engaged any architect to review the proposal as to the safety of the structure. My concern is that this is a wind tunnel. We know it. We're concerned about our residents, and we're also concerned about potential liability. I don't want to delay moving forward, but somehow I would like to have the general manager talk to our almost in-house architect. He's here every day anyway, to review the proposal and talk to the vendor, Elite Exteriors. What is the composition of these 6 by 6 inch posts? Will it survive a strong wind, which we know we're going to have? And if there's no problem, I'm totally in favor of it. But I think as a matter of appropriate due diligence, we should do so.
So, could we have some discussion on that? Gary, you had some comments earlier.
Yes, I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm looking at the contract, and it calls for 4 concrete support footings, which means, in my layman's understanding, that the supports will be secured to the concrete floor. And there's a 15-year labor warranty associated with that. I think that we could, as just an association, double check with the installer and the manufacturer to see if they feel comfortable with that and to what degree of wind they feel it would be comfortable to support. And I don't think we really need to spend the money for an outside architect at this point.
Does anybody know how much an architect would cost us? Scotty, we've got a feel for that by the hour probably.
It would probably only be a few hours of work to talk and call, and I mean, it wouldn't be a material amount of money spent on that. Perhaps the enhancement or the architectural committee has already done that consideration. We may want to ask anybody from that committee if they have some feedback to that issue. Now,
Charlene, you have any feedback on that?
Can we get a mic for Charlene?
Thank you. You know, this has been going on for 2 years, so it was really last year's architectural committee. The 3 vendors came out. We had a lot of discussion about the footings, and in fact, when we were talking about the pool area, we were told that the pool might be refinished at some point. So we even discussed would that affect the fittings. So these go down. They're pretty sturdy. I can't imagine this guy, you know, all 3 vendors did not feel there was any question about the durability or stability, or so that, you know, a concern never came up that this might not withstand. And everyone knows the vigorous winds down there, so we did not run into concerns from any of the vendors that this would not be perfectly safe. So, but you know, he could certainly, when he comes out, address any concerns that anyone had, I think.
We do see wind coming through here,
Of
blowing
course.
the umbrellas down,
That was more, yeah,
turning the tables
right.
over.
We did get some concerns about an umbrella over the furniture. And so we are going to have this Elite also look at potentially a second pergola over the furniture if people feel that the umbrella is not stable enough. But the big pergola, they looked at it at the pool and down there. So as I say, that question hadn't been raised of any kind of instability in it.
I have a great rapport with Sean. We talk daily. I think there's no problem with me just running this by him for a little temperature check. And I'm not going to let his feedback be the end all or be all, but I will certainly alert the board if there's any major issues. And we talk again, daily. So I'll bring this up to him. Hopefully that might be the due diligence that we can at least say we've gone through for thoughtful feedback.
Aaron's got a question.
Am I correct in assuming that all of the costs related to this activity, the cost of this, of the pergola and everything, and all, any other architecture people that we're gonna have to understand it, are gonna be paid for by the enhancement committee?
Yes,
All of it?
yeah, all of the costs. We're now working on trying to get enough accumulated for the furniture.
Good.
Okay, one more question and then we'll move on to the motion.
Janet's.
I'm not sure what the pergola is made of. Does it need yearly maintenance like shellac or something to prevent it from chipping or whatever?
No, it's aluminum, and one of the reasons we've chosen aluminum is because teak does require upkeep from the maintenance department. This requires no upkeep. So all the furniture and the pergola would be aluminum.
Pass the mic to Janet.
Because Charlene had told me it would be metal. Because there was a fire.
We need the microphone if you're gonna.
In the Chronicle, they said that many pergolas that were wood would not be allowed, and I questioned Charlene, and she told me it would be aluminum.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, it's time for a vote. What is the motion?
You want to hear that again?
Well,
Do I need to?
do we need to revise the
Yeah, I'm
motion?
wondering if I should add to my motion that approval would be pending review of the integrity of the pergola.
Tom, do you want her to do that?
That sounds fine to me. We don't want to slow it down, but I think Scott has said, you know, Sean Berry, he can easily respond, just put it in the file. It would make me happy, candidly, from a
Can
liability.
we pass the motion with the assumption that Scott will ask that question?
I think so. Yeah.
If you're happy with
Yeah,
that,
I am.
then my motion stands as
Okay.
it was.
My second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Like,
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, we now have the association software program that should currently, the work group, is that you?
Oh,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
that's right. Yes, thank you. We're going to have a second motion regarding the furniture. But I'm going to propose that we approve the furniture in concept because we haven't quite raised all the money to pay for it yet. Is that right, Charlene?
Just a second, Mrs. Harvey.
What's important is that we approve the purchase of the furniture. What we owe now is just a deposit, so they can order the cushions, because we're not taking what is on stock. We are ordering special, the cushions will be a special color for us. So that's taking 6 to 8 weeks, just if we place the order now. So the down payment is just to get that process started, which I think is important if we want to see this furniture this summer.
So
Do we have the money for the down payment?
Absolutely.
I think we have 5,000, but the total will be 17,000. So should my motion, Gary, be
And
to
the
just
pergola,
approve the down payment?
excuse me, the pergola also is a down payment. No, they're not asking for the total permanent or the price now. Well, again, they have not started the permitting process. So in order to get this done this summer, we need to get at least that started, which is just a down payment you're voting on today. It's not the total
Okay.
price.
Okay. well, we have approved the full amount for the pergola, and,
But we're not gonna pay that now, we'll only pay the down deposit. We're only gonna pay half now, I'm not gonna pay,
okay.
I don't want you to pay the whole thing now. I don't want you to pay that final bill till it's done and we, everything's settled.
Okay.
I think it might be helpful with your first motion being that we're proceeding with the pergola, and often a lot of our projects have different payment terms, so that's
Okay.
okay, it's
Yes.
deposits.
Okay.
But I think your second motion could be for the deposit of the furniture,
That would be very
and then
helpful.
we'll circle back with the remaining balance.
So I'll move that we approve the, well, how much is the deposit? Or can I just say deposit? Is that good enough? All right,
Good enough.
that we approve the deposit for the furniture. Is that enough?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the deposit?
Well, let me just say that the way it works is that we typically don't approve projects unless they're funded. In this case, I can understand we have an overriding concern about getting it done in time for the summer. So I would be in favor of the motion as it stands now. However, in the unlikely event, extremely unlikely event, that we don't get funding in the enhancement fund for the whole project, there's no guarantee that Smith Ranch would pick up the difference.
So do you want to amend that motion? All in favor then?
Aye.
Any opposed? You know, there's just no way that we can say no to Charlene Harvey. She's
You're gonna
always
love
got
it.
the
It's gonna
rationale.
be absolutely wonderful, so, thank
No
you
more
very much.
selling, you don't have to sell anymore,
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on. We have a work group that's working on upgrading our software. And that's a very important project. It's been going for a while, and now they're pretty well down the road with it. And we're very pleased with what we're finding and where we're headed. So Scott, would you kind of fill us in on the details of that?
Good, okay, this is gonna be a collaborative effort with, I think, some of the board members as well. You said a long process. This actually started about 3 years ago, and here we are today with a recommendation. Smith Ranch got word 3 years ago that our accounting software was reaching its end of life, and that we needed to find something to replace it. But as we dug in more and more, we said this is also a great opportunity to not only do something that might improve our back of the house operations, but maybe this is an opportunity to consolidate a lot of our fractured and siloed workflows. That's kind of the buzzword words that we use in this work group we've been using lately. But we have recognized that with our website, with our work order software, with our in-house TV channel, with our parcel tracking system, there are so many different segmented operations and workflows. We would like to use this opportunity to revitalize and recalibrate everything, even including our dining services programming is in operations. So back in June of last year, the board created a work group made up of Gary Scholes, Karen Verico, Richard Drake, myself, and then we brought on Danielle Uwaldi halfway through the process to say, wow, we really need Danielle's feedback because this is going to be so dining and intensive. So this work group came through and did a review of a lot of sister communities, and one of the things that we really took away is that most communities like us, if there are communities like us, is that unless they were rebuilt or they were built in the last few years, and maybe by a corporation, they're as fractured as we are. Many of these communities make one-off decisions without a concept in mind, and so they're suffering the same segmentation that we are, which didn't validate us per se, but we recognize, okay, it's easy to get into this trap and we'd like to fix ourselves, if you will. We did an evaluation of a number of different operations that we have at Smith Ranch Homes with a goal to get a coffee cup and put as much into this coffee cup as much as possible. And we're calling that coffee cup a core system. And if there's anything that can't fit into that coffee cup, we want to find a system that integrates with that coffee cup as seamless as possible so that maybe you don't even notice that it still exists. It's just a single sign-on that gets you to where you need to go, or you may see the differences or two, but our goal is to fill up our coffee cup. If you were to look behind the scenes of all of our workflows, there's a lot of paper, there's a lot of spreadsheets, there's a lot of pencils that we're still carrying around here, and we're looking to modernize our workflows. So North Star is one of the different vendors that we looked at, and one of the challenges that we have is that we're not quite a community association, and we're not quite a club management community. So think of like a country club. Software packages really excel in one or the other and don't really provide a solution for both. The reason why we need club management software is because your dining program, you have a profile and you charge to your account and your meals go on there. That's very country club-esque. Most HOAs and community associations don't have the restaurant value. So we were looking to say, okay, we got to find something with the best bang for our buck because we want one coffee cup, not two coffee cups. And North Star really fit the bill. We knew of North Star a few years ago because they actually bought the company that is currently sunsetting with our accounting software right now. So they know a little bit of our DNA, but we did an exhaustive evaluation with our consultant that we brought on board late last year, and evaluated our staff's needs and wants, evaluated our residents' needs and wants, and today the work group is coming with a recommendation to proceed with North Star. I am not a paid North Star employee. In fact, I get no percentage of the sale, but I'm going to put on a North Star representative hat and pass on some of their eye sizzle, if you will. These are slides from North Star, not from me, but I think it might be nice just to present to you what you're going to start hearing a lot about if the board approves this today. North Star. That logo, NS, you're going to start seeing that a lot more. But what does this do for us? Club, resort, software for Smith Ranch Homes. The goal is to bring in a system that's going to replace, and there's some people in our work group that are going to smile, our antiquated systems, multiple databases, file transfers. There are things that our staff does that takes 4 to 5 hours on a daily basis or even a monthly basis that could be replaced with a much more modernized workflow that can replace that workflow for maybe a 5-minute process instead. We are on the clock. 12/31, not only does our legacy software or our accounting software, not only is it not supported, it just goes away. So we had to get a replacement program in place now so that we can develop it, train it, deploy it, test it, and move forward before the end of the year, well before the end of the year. Okay, this is not really necessary, but I will say that North Star is experienced in this workspace. They have 1,000+ clients in the U.S. A number of the communities we reached out to and spoke with them, and by and large, they are very happy with the process of working with North Star. There's also a great word here that's called scalability. There are so many modules that North Star offers that there's no way we can just do everything all at one time. There's an opportunity to do our internal needs and phase 1 of dining and accounting software improvements, but there are so many future modules that we can start learning and knowing more about that we can continue to deploy to our residents. Here's a handful of communities, usually large scale like us. We spoke to a number of these different communities. A number of these communities didn't get back to us. That's also kind of the name of the game, where it's hard to find people with enough workflow or bandwidth to call us back. But we spoke with many of them, and again, many of them are very supportive on what is happening with North Star and them. This is a slide that I did want to be sure to include, though. This is where we're actually going to be striving for. This X is tying you in to Smith Ranch Homes operations much more. There are many times, and I know this, I hear the phone calls. Gabriella, how many meals have I had this month? Well, I can tell you through the first 2 weeks of April, you had 12 meals. That's going to go away. There's going to be software, like a website for you to go into, just like you do right now with our website. But there's also a phone app that you can use, and in real time, when you get charged a meal, it pops up on your phone. Sarah's having a Civil War reenactment in the patio area under the pergola. You now can sign up automatically And if there's a charge for the powder keg, then you're gonna get billed automatically through that and it goes right to your account. There's so much seamless integration now that you're gonna experience an improvement, we're gonna experience an improvement, and we're very excited about this. But how to do it is gonna be an unwieldy process. So we as the work group is coming to the board with some recommendations. Gary or Karen, did you want to take any of those or shall I kind of line those up for the board?
I'll do that.
Okay.
So first, why don't I start with a motion and then we can have discussion. So I'll move that the board approve retaining North Star as our new software provider at a initial cost in 2025 of $79,000 and a 5-year contract with an annual licensing fee of anywhere starting at $46,000 to $52,000 in year 5.
Okay, you heard the motion, now do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, let me give you some background.
Discussion.
Okay. First of all, how about the budget? Well, we've actually got $92,000 in the budget for this new system for this year. We've managed to get the price reduced somewhat by North Star, and in their licensing fee. So the equivalent amount as estimated actual that we have in the proposal is $79,000 versus a budgeted $92,000. Some of that savings will be used to renew or extend the consultant's workforce. I'll get to that as a second motion. So that's the financial aspects. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Karen, you want to talk about it?
No, I just wanted to assure the community that we did do several demonstrations, talking to the 3 possible vendors. One of them clearly was not a good match for us. The other one had some weaknesses of tracking your units so that now we can have a history of what has happened to 603H over the years, changes that were made, architectural requests. So we will be able to track by unit. And I think again, it's preserving the history of Smith Ranch as we go forward. So we'll be looking at all the features and trying to maximize the software as much as we can to help our operations.
Thank you. So what's the return on this investment? There isn't anything you can point to as specifically a financial return. I will point out that we need to replace the current system anyway because it's going to go out of business. So we don't know if we got a trimmed down replacement for that, how much that would be. But if we're going to have to do it, let's do it right. Do a system that we can all benefit from, and have it be the best that we can, best available. I'd like Scott to mention some of the intangible benefits of this going forward with regard to the employees.
Yeah, I think I brought it up earlier about saving steps. And right now, our staff is already taxed. They are at 100% operation. And to be able to pull back some of the extra steps that are just not necessary in 2025, that's going to be able to open them up to do a number of other things as well. So it's really the opportunity cost that I think is going to bring a huge value add. And we are already focusing on how that staff can also be added to help support you working with this technology as well. We know change is hard. We've engaged our staff along the way to learn a little bit about North Star, so they're already a little bit early adopters, but you are not. And so we're going to be dedicating a lot of that ROI extra efforts available so that you, the homeowner, can get some support from fellow residents or from staff as well too. I think I think I saw Christine back there. Christine, no, okay. The unit history I cannot downplay enough though. We are taxed right now when somebody is selling a unit, and let's just call it 603B. We need to be able to disclose what happened in Unit 3B, what happened in Building 600, what happened at Smith Ranch Homes, and right now everything is just paper under a filing cabinet. Now we're going to be able to effectively streamline so many operations, so even our legal opportunities, we're streamlining a bit more to address that liability too. So we are very excited about this.
Okay. Gabe.
Microphone coming?
I have a few questions, if you don't mind. The first thing is, I think this is phenomenal. I'm a tech person, and I love computer things. The first question is, it's $79,000 for the like startup thing. Does that include training for your staff?
Yeah,
Training is included.
the setup fee is $61,000, and that includes training of staff. And then the remaining amount is $18,000 is the monthly license for the 5 months for the rest of the year that we're expecting.
So the ongoing fee yearly, have you been paying up till now for the software that you have presently? So like what's the difference between the new annual amount compared to the previous annual amount?
We're not paying very much right now, but we're not getting much either, so.
So I assume that a lot of the expense will be in saving a lot of steps, labor for the work of the people who do this then. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
the cost savings is not there because we're not spending a lot to begin with.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Oh, is it?
David Williams.
David?
Scott, we've heard a lot about the software. Does this include some new hardware as well, or will there be hardware needs down the road?
We're going to be looking at that as we build up. The only hardware needs are going to be centered in dining services, and it's not for the resident side of things, it's for staff, and we may be looking at some peripherals that our staff's going to use that's going to be a little more modernized. We would like to replace as much paper as possible, yet some of the workflows based on your needs and wants to be able to poach that chicken with the sauce on the side with 3 vegetables instead of 2 may still be necessary to use the paper. But overall, residents won't be seeing that, but the staff will be behind the scenes.
Okay. So, no further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, I want to say something here, that there's been a lot of work that went into this, and I want to acknowledge the people. Gary, Karen, Richard Drake, Danielle, Scott, and then we have a consultant, Tom Allen, who has been working with us on it. So it's a good group, and they put a lot of work into it. Karen has volunteered some time, a lot of time in the implementation of what we are going to be doing. So we thank her for that. Okay, now, second motion.
Okay, so the implementation. So with the board having approved this new system, the work group is officially disbanded. We've done our job. Now there's another group that's going to start, smaller group, the implementation work group. And that's going to consist of Karen and Danielle Gallinde and the new financial manager, if we ever get one. Until then, it's going to be Scott Newman. And we would also like to extend the consulting contract of Tom Allen for up to 6 months. And the reason it's 6 months is because at the end of September, we should be fully operational. And we want to give them 1 more month to make sure that everything works right. So I would like to move that the board approve expenditure of a 6-month extension for our Tom Allen, our consultant, with an estimated cost of $26,000. Part of which we can pay for by having the contract with North Star this year less than budgeted. And Karen will only get psychic points. So that's, I make that motion now.
Okay, do I have a second on that? Okay, moved and seconded. And my understanding that Tom Allen's contract could be terminated in with a 30-day notice.
Yes,
Both sides. I think
yeah,
that's important in that it may not take him 6 months to do the work.
the amount we're talking about here is, what I would say is a maximum, not a minimum.
Okay. Been motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried on Tom Allen. Okay. We have an architect's change request that Dean's going to handle. She's the board liaison to the architect committee.
Yes, we have a request for patio enclosure for an animal. We call it a doggy fence. The architectural committee has reviewed it and sent it to the board for approval. So I move that we approve the animal enclosure for the Goldberg's patio that must be installed by the maintenance department, and it must include green ground staked wire as stipulated in the Smith Ranch rules and regulations.
Okay, we have a motion. We'll get a second on
Second.
the motion. Moved and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, one here.
Okay.
How close, if the extension is granted, how much closer to their next door neighbors could they get?
Oh, they're on a corner, so they
So
aren't
they would not be-
near any
Okay.
next door neighbors.
And so this would, okay. I think that answers my question, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Now, my understanding is that it's going to be along the edge of the patio. It's not an extension into common area.
Correct. It's right along the edge of the patio.
Okay, I repeat, it's been moved in second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. I'm the liaison to the nominating committee, so we're going to have a motion put forward that we revise the committee operation and organization policy. And one of the reasons for that is that we had a committee this year with a husband and wife both on the same committee. And there was some questions from the residents about that. And we decided that we would change the policy. And the nominating committee is forwarding to the board a recommendation to update the policy, the operation and organization policy, to address spouses and partners serving on the same committee. This emerged during the recent building of the 2025 standing committee rosters. The policy change will be as follows. Smith Ranch Home